Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I realized that somebody was a little bit kind of, I try to mobilize and then help people to have motivation heading into mission. But somebody say, okay, what Pastor Wong share is a bit too difficult for us as Christians to respond. I understand this, so bear with me, because from Titus chapter 2, verse 11 onward, bring the salvation to all men. And then today I'm going to focus on verse 12 to teach us to say no. To say no to ungodliness and worldly passion. So to say no. But also we said yes and decide to live self-control, upright and godly life in this present time. So just imagine the Great Commission has been given by our Lord Jesus Christ almost 2,000 years ago. And then I have been visiting around 40 countries. And then I met a lot of churches in different parts of the world. I realized that most of the churches, they still stay in Jerusalem. They still serve, in Jerusalem. And seldom even reach out to Judea, not to say Samaria or any of the earth. Why? Because the reality is once you leave our four walls in this building, you felt uncomfortable, like when you go on the street and share with people, it's a challenge. And then if you leave your country, your home, and go overseas and search and ministry among other people group or cross-culturally, you have to give up a lot. So the fact is, we are culturally affected by our culture. When I say this, let's say as Chinese, we value our children's education a lot. So whatever I want to do, I need to consider if I move from here to there, instead I need to give up a lot of things, including our children's possible future. What about their future? So last night I shared about we went to Africa. Basically, I have no answer. I don't know what happened to our children in the future. But when I realized that Jesus basically gave up everything and trusting God, and God never failed anyone. So that is the truth. And can we make the truth happen to our own life? That is a challenge. So when we read Paul's ministry and his testimony, Paul has suffered a lot for the Lord. So you see, we appreciate Paul. We really feel like he is a great person, is really a godly man and serve the Lord, without any reservation. It kind of, so we want to be like Paul. But at the same time, can we say no to those things from cultural thing or the world thing, worldly thinking, that pull us back and then we cannot step forward? For example, a few years ago in Vancouver when I was preaching there at the church mission conference. So after the mission conference on Sunday afternoon, they call a meeting. Not the church call a meeting. Some people call a meeting. It was planned long ago. So a lot of Christian, non-Christian, they all gathering in the church, chapel. Basically, the topic was what are the main things that you need to know in order that your children can get into Harvard or Yale or those kind of things. So you see, the only thing affect us, so we hesitant to give up. You see, hesitant to give up. Let's say my children, none of them go to very good school. But so what? God guide their life, and they walk in a path of godly, path. And I realized that what is the main thing, what is the most important thing for Christian? Easily we talk to our children, we need to study hard so you can get into good school, so you can have a better life. This is worldly thing. Not necessarily wrong, but when we only invest this into our children's mind, how can you expect our children to take God's word very seriously and say, God, I'm here, I'm willing to obey, I'm willing to trust you? It's very difficult. So, today we are talking about teach us to say no and teach us to say yes. Teach, how are we going to teach? Ministry among the Muslim people in Africa is totally, a new thing to me. I follow a professor. He has served in Bangladesh for 18 years, and then he was expelled by the government because, he has their teamwork has good result. As long as you don't have any result, you are very safe among the Muslim country. Once you have result, then persecution starts. So it's a challenge for missionary. Do you want to have result? Or do you want to have more peaceful life and stay, in another country, another culture? So sometimes it's a real issue for missionaries. So let's say last night we talked about bringing salvation to all men. When we were in Africa, basically, first almost 8 months, we don't have a car. So basically, African, they accept us so warmly because we are like them. They work, we work. They ride camel, we ride camel. So you see, so they call us, you are our own people. You speak our language, you eat our food, and then, you are our friend. So it was a honeymoon period of time. But when we got a car, four-wheel drive, because in the Sahara Desert, you cannot drive even good Mercedes-Benz. Only two-wheel, you can go nowhere. So you need to have four-wheel drive. And when we got the car, then everything changed. We went to villages. The way they greet us, before they greet us, Ndawadu, Galewasale, how are you? You are welcome here. And now they start greeting us, Ndauri. Where is money? Because I'm driving my car to the village. And they look at us as rich men, rich missionaries. So, do you bring money? And then eventually they refuse us to visit them because, all right, we want money. If you bring money, then we can still be friends. Otherwise, sorry, So it's very difficult for us. So you say, bring the good news to these people. How are we going to do it? So if we can just go and give them some money every time, then you can see you are well received by the villagers. But this is not what we want to do because we don't want to, pass out material kind of things to them so that they will say, oh, we welcome you. You come whenever you want. So it was the rejection by the people, by those so-called friends, is very hurtful, very hurtful. So you see, simple things here saying that bring salvation, but for the grace of God. But when you are doing that, you experience hurt, you experience rejection from people. So what should we do? Can we just totally trust on the grace of God and just overlook, whatever suffering that we may face? It's a real challenge. So just look at the churches in this world. For 2,000 years, the majority of the churches never stayed outside Jerusalem, never stayed outside our own church. That is a reason, because how much we want to pay for stepping outside? How much we want to, just to give up the comfort, a lot of time we don't know what to do. So this is very important. So in second year, remember the Christmas time, I told my wife, I say, I would like to greet two important people in town. One is the prefect in French, is a governor. Then another one is the manga people, the head of the manga people. He called himself king, so king of the manga people. There's two important people. So this king, he controls a lot of villages and big region. So my wife Emily, he likes doing baking, cooking kind of thing. So she said, okay, I will bake you two kind of can of biscuit. In Africa, we don't find material easily. So, we get whatever we can, and then she baked two can of biscuit. So I try to find some presentable like paper to wrap it and then to present to the governor. So the day I went, I have New Testament and then with a can of biscuit, just two, prepared two. So our house is at the edge of the western side. The main road, the only road in the country, just run through our town. Yeah, so the west to the east. So I walk from my home all the way to the eastern part outside the town. Is on a small hill is the government building there. So we have governor, and then we have police, we have prison there, we have soldier camping there. So I walk through the town holding two presents, and then I went to the prefect, the governor's office. We know each other because it's a small town, and then we were the only family, Chinese family staying there. So everybody know us, at least there's a Chinua, the Chinese there. So we went to the prefect's office, the governor's office. But they usually not many people, but a lot of people in the office. I don't know what meeting or what gathering, I don't know. But when the governor saw me, he invited me to sit. I said, sorry, you have business, so I can come back later on, another day. But I present him, I say, yeah, it's Christmas time, may God bless you. So I just present, and then I left because he had something going on. So I came down from the mountain and then turned around and walked towards the west again. After I passed the judge court, the court there and the hospital there, and then the post office, and then the another building is providing telephone. Our whole town only have 26 telephone, and then we never have a telephone at home, because most time it's not working. So it doesn't matter whether we have telephone or not. So I turned left, and then heading south. It's a sandy road already. It's not. So immediately when I turn south, walk on the sandy road, on the right side is the biggest mosque building in our town, and then the opposite the mosque is the palace where the king stayed there. So when I walk down the sandy road, two of the elderly manga people came out from the shade. There's shade built up in front of the palace. A lot of people there, but the two elder men came out and they called me Malang Wong in a distance. Why? Because in that town we have 5 different people group, so 5 different languages. And then we decide to learn Manga language. And they consider we choose them to be my friend. So a lot of them, they welcome me when I speak Manga language. And these 2 elderly men, we know each other for some time already. So they came out and they look at my in my hand, I have something that seems like quite nice. So one of them asked, do you want to see the king? You want to present this to the king? No, I say yes. So, one of them walked me all the way to the gate of the palace. When I follow him, and then when I arrive at the gate there, I look inside where the king was. The king was sitting on a sofa. In this country, not many people have sofa. You are king, then you are rich enough to have sofa. And then he was sitting there. He has been ambassador to Quebec, Canada. He has been ambassador to Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. So he's a very, knowledgeable person. He's a lot of experience. 60 over, maybe 70 years old. He was sitting there. When I look inside the palace, how to go, the big gathering place, I was kind of shocked because I never seen this before. Even in a Chinese movie, talk about Qin Shi Huang sitting in front and then whole row of army or whoever, I mean, I never saw this before because the king was sitting there and 2 rows of official people sitting on the sand. No one have any chair, so sitting on the sand. And the main thing is 1 row of people, just one after another one, they were kneeling there facing the king. No one dared to stand up, they kneel there. So I thought, wow, can I just go in there and see the king? Seems like he is very powerful, and then, not sure what will happen. And then you cannot talk to the king using the normal daily manga language. You need to use some special terms that you address, appropriately. So, this is so-called the king. So I was kind of not sure, should I go in, and then how should I do? And then I was so embarrassed because I have my Japanese slipper on. I didn't put on shoes. Honestly speaking, for 12 years in Africa, I never put on shoes. Because weather is too hot. Another thing is, if you work in the desert, you lose your shoes because immediately when you push down, all the sand will fill the shoes, whatever space got, and you pull it out, and then you only have your feet out without your shoes. So every time you need to look for shoes. Okay, so I don't put on my shoes. I enjoy that a lot with barefoot. Just a slipper. So I thought, wow, I should have shoes put on to see the king today. And then I was hesitant, not sure what to do. And then when I look around, I said, okay, yeah, maybe that's okay. Because I realized the king also put on the slipper. So that's fine. So I went in with the elderly man, he guided me. So walk all the way. So I try to memorize, what I need to say. Is a very kind of, most of the young people, they didn't even know how to say it. The manga people, only the elderly people know. So I memorized. So when I reached the king, he looked at me, so I greet him, I present the gift to him, and say Merry Christmas to him. So he accepted the gift, and then he didn't say anything to me. He passed the gift on the right side, and 2 of them received the gift, and they went into the palace. And they came out with a sofa and put at the left side of the king. And the first time the king said to me, please sit down. It wasn't a good experience, You sit beside the king and not sure what to do and not sure what will happen. It's not very nice. My heart was so pop. I thought, this what should I do now? So the king didn't talk to me because those people, they kneel down in front of him. They start saying, the king help us because my neighbor, slaughtered my sheep, and they didn't ask permission, so can you help? And, the king only just give one answer after another answer. So those problems solved, they kneel back work. They kneel back work and go outside. I just look at it, I say, okay, this place I cannot stay for too long. This, I don't know I don't know how to handle this. So I say to the king, I say, yeah, thank you for your time. You are busy today, I will come back later on. I never know. Since that day, 113 villages open to me because the king controlled 113 villages. And the news just went up to all the villages. This person has been received by the king and sit at the left side of the king. You see, the door opens. So the first time I went to a village and then showed Jesus video, and then it was a disaster because we don't have electricity. So how are you going to run a movie? We don't have a generator. So you see, I use my car battery to power the electricity. The video camera is a video projector is one piece. You have one piece, then you put the cassette in, and then you show. So if you show the video like 10 feet away from the white sheet of clothing, you still can see something. But when we have a whole village of people came and watched the video, everybody starts screaming, say, I can't see, I don't know what is that. So we need to pull the projector further and further away. As a result, the screen is big enough, but we can basically see nobody clearly. You can see those images moving around. And it was a terrible thing for Africans because they never see any movie. And they see the image running around, they thought it was spirit. Everybody's so scared and they're screaming, so no one hear anything. You see, I have showed Jesus movie in 9 languages for more than 50 times at least. I'm not Campus Crusade people, but I train Campus Crusade people how to use 4 spiritual laws. Yeah. So even doesn't matter. Kind of languages I was because I was down and sleep. And then because Sumu, Emily was with me, and another 2 missionaries, they were with me. So they are elderly people. I mean, women sleep in the house. And then the elderly people, they have another place. But no space for me to sleep. So I just put down something cheap on the sand and then let them try to sleep. And at that time, in the dark, 2 young men, I don't even see who they are because it's so dark. And they say, Malam. Malam, that means religious teacher. Would you like to accept Jesus? I say, what Jesus? Do you see anything? Because I didn't. And they say, we were so touched by the movie. I say, how can you see anything by the movie and touched by the movie? So I said, go home, come back tomorrow, because I'm so upset with myself. So I asked him to go back. So the next day, before 5:30, the lights already, sun already come out a little bit. So I opened my eye, the two young men sitting there beside me. So I wonder if they went home or not last night. They were just sitting there. So I wake up, I say, well, were you two came to me last night? They say, yes. And they say, we want to know about Jesus. So I start telling them about Jesus. One is Ali, one is Idrissa. So both of them accept the Lord. That's second morning. You see, this sometimes is totally out of our control, like imagination. We never imagine how these two people come to the Lord. I mean, through video, I don't think they see anything. But through whatever, because no one can hear anything, basically no one can see what is going on. And everybody's scared because they thought it was evil spirit, moving around, jumping around. And then, so I just can't imagine. So you see, trusting the Lord, when you are moved by the Lord, you just obey and go ahead and do it. Even we don't understand, even we feel like this is just, unthinkable. But God is moving once we obey. So that's very encouraging to me. And then I realized that being missionary, we are that close with God. That close. Because, a lot of time we pray to God, we're not just saying, okay, we need to pray, but we don't know where is God, He's listening or He's nearby me or what. So we are not sure. But in Africa, a lot of things happening that is beyond our control. We just don't know what to do. We have no answer. But once we obey and God start moving and the Holy Spirit change life, that's so encouraging to me. So I believe that even Paul suffered a lot. He kept moving on because he experienced God all the time just by trusting God. Not sure what will happen. So today we talk about teach us. So as Christians here, we need to really, try to live up a godly lives, and then want to be obedient and trust Him. So that's very important. In Africa, when we say teaching, training, that means something different. For example, African, they are polygamy, basically, with Islam encouraging polygamy also. So they don't necessarily convert into Islam, become good Muslim, but they feel like, okay, this, what you are teaching is quite similar to our culture. Some are very sincere Muslim. Some are not really. They don't know much about Muslim. So, for example, my so-called discipleship training material is totally different from what I'm doing with my own church in Malaysia or USA. It's very different because a few lessons that we need to be included in African Muslim ministry, this kind of material. For example, one day our church would like to elect some deacons to be deacons and work together with pastor. The question was immediately just a challenge for the whole congregation because we have one Christian. Before I came, he was from Nigeria. He has 2 wives. And then African culture think whoever you have only one wife because you are poor, you are unattractive, you cannot support more than one wife. So that means you don't have good position in the society. So if you have 2 wives, it's better to be a leader. If you have 4 wives, definitely you need to be the leader. So the church started voting. So I need to stand up. I say, okay, sorry, so-and-so, we cannot vote for him. But of course, before that, I talked to him already. I explained to him. First generation Christian, we told him, definitely your children, they can be church leader, but not you. Sorry, we are not going to include you even on the list for people to vote. So that's one thing. So, you know, a lot of time we have people like this come to our church, already have more than one wife, and they become Christians. What should we do? What should we do? You know, not in my church, but in some other churches in our region, all the 4 wives accept the Lord, but not the husband. So how are we going to handle this? So discipleship training courses, we need to talk about that. And then, even the husband also accept the Lord, the whole family accept the Lord. So the church decide on communion service, like, okay, for the wife, you have only one husband, so you can have communion. But for the husband, sorry, you cannot have the communion because you have 4 wives. So how are we going to deal with that? So you see, the problem come out just, you know, so real, you know, everybody has the similar situation. So how are we going to do it? And then, because of the polygamy and the devotion is so popular, and then African women never really said about being divorced, because almost everybody faces a similar situation. Because the husbands feel like, okay, you are too old, so I take another one, but I have already 4 already. Take another one, that means 5 is not supported by the Quran. So the husband will say, okay, I divorce you. So one of the older wives. So the husband take the new, you know, maybe 15 years old or 20 years old, young girl. So they are so used to that. So in our church, some of our sisters, they start talking about being a wife for only one man is so boring. Then how are we going to discipleship them? How are you going to teach them? Saying that, you know, one husband, one wife is the Bible's teaching. And then how are we going to handle that? Because they say, we always argue. We always fight. So can we change a husband? Why the man can? Why not us? So you see, the discipleship training, when you say teaching, it's culturally, you need to create some curriculum or some, teaching guideline from the Bible and help them. So we spend a lot of time in counseling, because the wife starts saying things, and then the husband is so used to Quran, the Islamic way of treating their wives. Because Quran says if you don't hit your wife publicly, you will lose your position as a man in the community. So the Quran theology, their college, the theology training center, they even teach the whole course how to beat your wife. So for our brothers in the church, tell them, sorry, you cannot beat your wife. It's never easy. Never easy. Some of them say that, can I beat her just, when no one's around? Can I do that? So you see, a lot of time this is a real problem for us. We just don't know what to do. You see, I have outreach ministry in different ways. Let's say I have a youth center, so open to whoever they can speak a language. They come and read books, and we play games. We have testimony, we have video for them. And then I have basketball ministry. So a lot of people came and learned how to play basketball. And they were affected by the NBA because they thought all the black men, they are good basketball players. So many of them 15 years old, already 6'2", 6'5". And then look at me. How can I play basketball with them? But basically they know almost no rules about basketball. They don't know how to play basketball. I represent school for 5 years, so play for basketball for 5 years. Then I say no, because I never grown taller than this. So that's not fair to me, but I know how much I can do. So, but at least, I teach them how to play basketball. Yeah. And then I organized the regional tournament for soccer. They play soccer with, I just provide a ball or whatever. They play soccer so well, so even the governor, deputy governor, he wants to join me to organize. So we have a lot of ministry to the young people. But I have pre-evangelism meeting on Saturday, every Saturday evening. I don't invite people, but people know that I just put a net down under the tree. I prepare tea, and then African passing by, they sit down because they love drinking tea, Chinese tea. So they sit down, and then the whole process to cook the cup of tea takes 2 hours. Because only 3 or 4 charcoals, it's very slow burning. You have a cup of water, pour it in, cup of tea, pour it in, a cup of sugar, put it in. So boil for maybe 40 minutes, the first round ready. So the first round is very concentrated, very concentrated. I never dared to drink it after I tried once, and then I couldn't sleep for 48 hours. And then I don't even want to eat because I don't feel hungry. It's just the stomach's, numb, you don't feel anything. And I realized that because they may not have meal next meal, so that if they drink that, they can survive not eating within 2 days. So everybody just sit down and very quickly we fill out the group, and then one time I asked them, I say, how is your family doing? So please don't ask them how many kids they have. This is an offensive question because most of the fathers, they don't know. Because they have 4 wives, maybe already divorced 2, now have 4, or whatever. And then the children, they can survive more than 5 years old, only 49%. So a lot of them, they don't know how many children they have. But doesn't matter, I just, friendly pre-evangelistic meeting, I ask them, okay, how is the family? They say it's not good. Because so many wives, they start quarreling, children fighting, and then come home, no food, and they start begging on the street or whatever. And those educated, especially educated people, they feel so bad about their family. Yeah. So I say, okay, why is the reason? Is it too many wives is the reason? Too many kids the reason? They say, well, yes. And then I ask them, okay, yeah, you can talk about it and see what is the best solution that you people may think out of. And they discuss, and then they say, okay, Malam, we all agree that 2 wives is the best. I say, okay, 4 down to 2, that's not too bad. But why 2? So they say, no, what happened to my one wife? She was sick and then couldn't cook for me. Wow, just because cook for you, so you need another wife? So I say, do you know Adam and Eve? All mostly know Adam and Eve because Adam and Eve is in their Quran, so they know Adam and Eve. So I say, Can you explain to me why God only made one woman for Adam? And they talk and talk and talk. They say, so you Christians have one wife because of this reason? I say, we found out one wife is enough. Yeah. So we talk about this, and then people start thinking about, and they start asking me, what does the Bible say? What does the Bible say? Then I show them, explain to them what the Bible say about this. So this is a pre-evangelism. But I have another group. Another group is very religious, high position, well-educated people, and they will challenge me theologically. They will challenge me. So we are friends. They say, okay, tell me, can you explain why you worship three gods? Then we start comparing Quran and then comparing the Bible. Honestly speaking, by the end of the 11, 12 years, I know Quran more than them because I purposely took courses with 3 teachers to learn Quran. And then and they realized that, okay, you know a lot. But the educated group, they have 2, 3 of them accept the Lord. So it's very helpful because they can explain to people why we became Christian. And their logic, their explanation is so convincing. So it's very helpful. So that's my ministry. And then, sometimes we have a speaker coming from outside, let's say, Canada, America, or Europe. They will tell the people saying that it's okay to have more than one wife. So those speakers, special speakers from outside, just give us extra, homework to do, like, how we're going to deal with them. It's not Muslim, it's Christian preacher. And they say that it's okay, for example, how many wives did Abraham have? Definitely not just one, okay? How many wives do you think Jacob had? And then how many wives do you think King David had? So sometimes cause a lot of unnecessary confusion and then different kind of point of view on this area. But because most of them, they are polygamy, have more than one wife, it's very difficult. But I tell you today, our church in Africa, all the families is, basically one husband, one wife. We don't have anyone in our church now have 2 wives. And their children, some of them become full-time minister. Yeah. So that has been, almost, we planted church in the late 90s, and until today is 30 years. Yeah. So we praise the Lord. So teach them. That is a very, very important thing. Teach them. You see, when people, they are new converts, they are very new. So I spend a lot of time just go through the whole Bible, teach them. Because we need to teach them the biblical knowledge about creation all the way to the end of the Bible, this Revelation. So I managed to spend 18 months to teach this course. At first, we have more than one. And now we have only one graduate, and then one that is now our church pastor. Yeah. No idea about what the Bible says. He came from the Muslim background. And then we just continuously teach them. Some of them halfway give up. Some find a job in another town, so they move, whatever reason. But that's, we do that. But I have 18 faithful doing corresponding, Bible courses through corresponding. So they take the material home and read, and answer and come back, we discuss. So they help. So through that corresponding, we have another two become full-time pastor now. And then one of them has been to university. In this kind of background, university, that means the highest education already, in the 90s or in the early 20s. But anyway, this is very, very helpful. And then one time, my wife organized a women or ladies kind of evangelistic meeting. So invite only housewife or their daughters to come to watch the movie. That night, around 50 to 60 people came, and then half of them are men, because the man ordered the wife, stay at home, I go for the movie. So the man is so, bossy in a sense. But anyway, that night, one of them accepted the Lord. But that one, she was very bright in school. Her husband accepted the Lord first. And then she refused to believe in Jesus. Because basically, all my meetings, all the attendants are men, because I don't have women to come to my meeting. So the husband started doing the corresponding course. And then the wife say, I want to do it also. So she asked me, I said, okay, I can give the material to you. So for months, she never gave me back any homework, because she is not Christian. And she didn't say why she didn't do the homework. But that night, she became Christian. She accepted the Lord. And the whole night, she worked on the homework. And then within the 18, taking my corresponding courses,